tell us what drew you to this project.
Gideon had literally a page of the idea written out, just the concept, and I was fascinated on a bunch of things. One is that I wanted to, I was actually feeling the desire to partner up with somebody on a project. I've done my own shows, and I was looking for more of a collaborative process this time around. That was one element. The other was the idea of shooting a show on location, and that was already baked into the idea because Gideon had come up with this idea with the Israeli production company already sort of attached, and taking advantage of this ability to actually go to a location and take advantage of the incentives that they give you to shoot there. That had already been sort of set up by the time I came in. And then, to be honest, I met Gideon and we hit it off instantly. We have a very similar sort of process and style. And you can tell very quickly when you talk story with somebody, after being in the writer's room with hundreds of writers over the years, you get a sense of who you can bounce ideas off easily, and we hit it off. And to be honest, because we were writing the project on spec, was not attached to any network. It was nobody was paying us to write it. It was a completely speculative project. So, in a sense, it was kind of a side project for me. Didn't have to be my day job. I was actually doing was in the second season of Touch at the time that we met, and so I had a day job, and so it was fun. It was a no pressure thing. But the setting really intrigued me. I've always been a fan of 70s psychological paranoid thrillers like 3 Days of the Condor, Parallax View, those kind of stories about a little guy who uncovers something huge and then gets in trouble. And the next thing you know, he doesn't know who to trust and doesn't know where to turn. And this had all those elements. So there's that level. As a religious studies major in college, some of that aspect of it was fascinating to me. I wanted to explore some of those ideas. So, I don't know, there seems to be a lot of touch points of why it fascinated me.
Talk a little bit about the multi-platform new venture with Wattpad. Why pair with a group like Wattpad, and what will be happening?
Well, I have been, since Heroes, and Heroes really opened my eyes to this. I mean, it opened a lot of people's eyes because it was a brand new idea to create story for multi-platform. And on Heroes, we had the ability we had such a big story, and then our fans were the kind of fans that could find story in different places. Well, now everybody is that way. Everybody is spending hours a day staring at these devices in their hands. And the ability to reach people where they actually are becomes almost imperative for a storyteller. You have to think about this. If you don't, you're missing a huge part of people's daily consumption of content. That's how they're consuming content. So when you're looking for a way to reach people, you want a way that allows you to tell a story, a narrative. And Wattpad is one of these very interesting new-ish apps that allows the audience. I also am a very big believer in the audience participating in something, and it's something I discovered with Heroes and became kind of fascinated by the idea that it used to be a one-way street where you told a story, you pushed it out to people, and whether people got it or watched it or liked it, you had no way of knowing. It was a completely one-way street. On Heroes, it suddenly became this two-way street where people could push story back to us, they could text us, they could post things. They could mash up our stuff that we gave them and put it on a site that we had set up. And you had this immediate kind of feedback loop with the audience that was so immediate and really fascinating to me. And I became very compelled by the idea that the audience could now participate, that they could actually become a part of the story. They could become a character in the story. They could attach to a character. They could create their own fan fiction or their own. And Wattpad is one of those apps that allows an audience to participate in a unique way, to stay involved prior to the launching of a show, which is really important these days. In a sea of, let's face it, there's a sea of content out there, and the competition is so vast for people's attention and their eyeballs that anything that you can give that allows people to attach to something in an emotional way prior to the launch of it is super helpful. And the Wattpad project has been really interesting, and we've done it from our writers' room, which is also really key. Any content that generates from the show should generate from the internal, engine room of the show. And where you get in trouble with an audience is when an audience smells or feels that something is inauthentic, that something is being pushed to them by some kind of, brand or something that they don't really, that they smell it very quickly. And so by having something that is authentically ours, I think the audience will attach to that and know that this story can extend. Plus, the show has the ability for it. It's a highly Googleable show, if that's a word. There's a ton of stuff that you can find that will open up, because we're riding on top of things that are real, and some things that have been written a lot about, that have a lot of controversy about, people will be able to dive into those worlds. And so it's a show that allows itself to happen.